Welcome to WAY2B TV, where there's a better way to be than atheist or theist. So, I had a broken tooth the first of this week and went to the dentist and discovered that it was unrepairable. And they said I would need 2 crowns, one on each side of it with a bridge in the middle to repair it. And so I was at the dentist's office for 3 hours and had to leave and then come back again on Wednesday and was there for 4 more hours. And they have the temporary in now, and see, I still got a smile. the bridge worked out just fine. It's a temporary, and then about 6 weeks I got to go back in. They'll pull this one out and put in the permanent one. So that's my first experience with a bridge. But so far, my teeth look just, when I look in the mirror, I can't tell the difference. But and that's good. It's not something I have to take out at night, so that's good. So,
that's not your first experience with a bridge.
Huh? Say
That's
what?
not your first experience with a bridge.
Yes, it is.
I remember popsicle sticks and brown paint, and you made a bridge.
Oh, I'm talking about a bridge of my teeth.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't talking about the one I made in engineering school. All right. So, at any rate, tonight's broadcast, the broader question is, and I want you to think about this because we're finishing up the 6 illustrations that Jesus used to illustrate the shift from just doing religion to being in a way. And so tonight's broader question is, can the 6 illustrations attributed to Jesus by the ancient writer be instructions for forming a religion? Or are the 6 illustrations more likely his instructions concerning how to be a follower of the way, since the people that he taught were known as followers of the way? It's always been my opinion that Jesus had nothing to do with or any inclination toward establishing any sort of religion. That he was simply a simple teacher who was teaching what he taught, and he was teaching something that was very controversial to both the scribes and Pharisees, the Jewish religion, and also it was somewhat controversial to the Roman government. And so, especially since people started calling him the King of the Jews. So that's the question. The broader question for tonight is: can the 6 illustrations attributed to Jesus be instructions for forming a religion, or are the 6 illustrations more likely his instructions concerning how to be a follower of the way? Tonight we're going to do the video. We're going to continue the way to be recovering from too much religion. In the current playlist, we are looking at The Way to Be, written by an ancient writer a half-century after it was taught by an ancient speaker named Jesus. We have moved through the opening assertions, the benefits of adopting this way, and the tempering of religious resistance to this way of being. We have now looked at the first 5 illustrations of the shift from just doing religion to being in the way, or as the ancient speaker may have referred to it, the fulfillment. We have to remember the so-named Sermon on the Mount was written by an ancient writer in the second half of the 1st century. In the video this evening, we are considering the 6th illustration of how the way plays itself out in life. There are 3 illustrations of law and 3 illustrations of religious ritual. Let me see if I can mute the Hangout for a minute. It's because it's all over the top of me. There are 3 illustrations of law and 3 illustrations of religious ritual in the proposed ancient speech. Each of these illustrate the shift from just doing religion to being in the way. This week, we will address the last of the illustrations based on religious ritual, the practice of sacrifice. Ask yourself, is the course of life determined more by what we do or more by our way of being? Does anger lead to violence, as we discussed the first week? Does lust lead to betrayal of intimate relationships, as we looked at the second week? Does an attitude of revenge often produce misery for us, as we looked at the third week? And should prayer be strictly a private matter, as we talked about last week? And tonight, ask yourself, does the ancient writer have the ancient speaker teach? If you sacrifice, keep it to yourself. So here's tonight's video. Over the past 5 videos, we have looked at an ancient writer's depiction of illustrations offered by an ancient speaker named Jesus. In this video, we look at the 6th and final illustration of the shift from just doing religion to being in the way. Again, both atheists and theists have taken the ancient writer literally and for exactly opposite purposes. The ancient speaker seems to continue to illustrate the modesty of an unassuming way to be. He uses religion's addiction to notoriety, as the hypocrites do. And whenever you fast, do not put on a gloomy face, as the hypocrites do, for they neglect their appearance in order to be seen fasting by others. Truly I say to you, they have their reward in full. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, so that you may not be seen fasting by others, but by the Father who is in secret. And the Father who sees in secret will repay you. There really is nothing new here. Religion must be seen and heard, if it is to exist at all. The ancient speaker lived and spoke a half-century before the ancient writer wrote. Was he establishing public religion or helping his followers find a way to be genuine and private? Many atheists have Jesus endorsing fasting with the motive of making followers pliable. That is, an atheist might say that fasting renders religious adherents vulnerable to indoctrination. Theists, on the other hand, publish how-to books, preach sermons, and develop lesson series to encourage fasting. Again, with a literal reading, theists have Jesus teaching fasting as a religious practice that draws one closer to God. The ancient writer, as the ancient speaker, remained consistent in his advice. The speaker's example concerning fasting and all sacrifice is just a continuation of the 3 illustrations employing religious ritual. Which showing off? Give privately, pray privately, and sacrifice privately. Here's how the southern farmer who gave up religion altogether put it in our video, The Sermon on the Hay. Let me share with you a few examples of just pleasing religion. When the offering plate goes around, good folks put something in it, right? What if you gave it some other time, such that none of your friends knew about it? What if some of your gifts are outside of religion? Making a show to be seen is just given to get. That's not genuine. Making a show to be seen is taking, not giving. If you have this way about you, your actions can naturally follow your attitude. Give quietly. You will be rewarded with contentment. The most reverent, righteous, and religious are those who know the loftiest words to pray, right? What if your prayers were private? None of your friends would hear you. Isn't that as it should be? Are you praying to be heard by your friends? There really is no need to pray in public or to repeat the same words over and over. There's a more humble way to pray. If you have this way about you, your actions can naturally follow your attitude. Pray quietly. You will be rewarded with contentment. Good religious folks sacrifice themselves, don't they? What if no one knew about your sacrifices? If you get up your neighbor's hay one evening, don't tell everybody up and down the road about it. Don't show up for dinner all hot and sweaty either. Shower and wear clean clothes. Put a smile on your face. Ask others around the dinner table about their day. If you have this way about you, your actions can naturally follow your attitude. Sacrifice quietly. Contentment will be your reward. Whatever it is you want, you want. Your attitude is your attitude. You have a choice. If you desire to be revered by others, being seen and heard will be your focus. If you desire to build character, concentrate on your private, inward way of being. You can't have it both ways. You can't be content while seeking human recognition. Our point here is simple. Don't make too much of sound bites from ancient writing. The ancient writer had the speaker illustrate the shift from the hypocrisy of ritualistic doing to being a private follower of the way. The visceral response to inward modesty is giving privately, praying privately, and sacrificing privately. The way of being is be modest, humble, and poor in spirit. Enjoy the good feeling, the feeling of contentment provided quietly within your secret self. Religion steals its good feeling from others by seeking notoriety for religious observance. Religion must have human attention and human credit. How else would it survive? The ancient writer has the speaker giving 6 illustrations of the shift from just doing religion to being in the way. His illustrations advise, manage your attitude, not your actions. Healthy actions will follow. For instance, if you manage anger, you will not murder. If you manage lust, you will protect intimate relationships. Love people, and you will not take the path of revenge. Then he turns to 3 religious rituals and an attitude of modesty. Keep it to yourself when giving, praying, or sacrificing. The ancient writer did not have the ancient speaker establishing or reinforcing law or ritual, yet both atheists and theists used literal readings to do just that. In our next video, we look at the ancient writer's depiction of what causes a person to resist adopting the way. So what do you think? What do you think? I mean, it would seem to me that if I was going to make a point, I needed to make a point, I would use an illustration possibly. And there might be 100 illustrations that I could use, but I wouldn't use 100. I might use 3, but not 100. And so my point is that Jesus made these illustrations. Each one of them show this shift from an attitude, from an action rather, from doing religion to being in the way. Every single one of them switched from doing the law to being in the way, or from doing religion to being in the way. And so the result is that all he was doing was illustrating the shift. I don't think it was ever intended for us to make new law related to everything from divorced people to gay people to whatever out of Jesus' illustrations throughout the New Testament. Nor do I think that it makes any sense for us to make new ritual out of it, or to make endorsed ritual out of it, or the continuation of a Jewish ritual out of it, in that Jesus used their rituals as illustrations to make a point concerning their practice of religion. And the hypocrisy of it, because he used the word hypocrisy in every single illustration. Don't be as the hypocrites do. Don't do as the hypocrites do. When you pray, be in secret. When you give, be in secret. When you sacrifice, be in secret. And this Father that we talked about last week sees you in secret, and you will be rewarded in secret. And so the question in my mind has always been, ever since I started studying this stuff, is that did Jesus really ever intend to form a religion? Or are his 6 illustrations simply more likely his instructions to the people who followed him? They called them people of the way, and he taught them this way to be, and he used these illustrations to talk about the shift from doing law or doing religion or keeping the law or keeping religion as opposed to being a certain way inside, which changes your visceral response to the world. So what do you think? What are your thoughts about it?
I think maybe the only thing right the religion got was that there needs to be a personal relationship between you and the higher being. And I think that's the relationship that Jesus was working on, or the speaker was working on when he talked. I think he was working on teaching us to have a relationship that was beyond just people, and to be the kind of person to do to have the visceral response to teach what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And if everybody did that, we wouldn't need religion.
Do you see him teaching a relationship with a external being to yourself in the Sermon on the Mount?
External? No, it's internal.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways to look at it. I've got the microphones open, Carol and Colleen, if y'all want to jump in there. And I see that Jan has joined us as well.
Great.
And Amber, it looks like Amber got there too. Amber finally got home.
Yeah,
So
she did. Yeah.
looks like we've got the full slate again tonight. But at any rate, y'all jump in there. Do you have anything on the chat room yet, Joni, to share?
Nope, just hotties.
Just howdy so far.
Yeah.
Well, Colleen and Carol, what do y'all
I
think
think
about that question?
I think that Jesus was not trying to form a religion. I
I
believe that
agree.
thing he said had to do with the personal relationship you have with your inner being, the the inner being that you want to establish, you want to grow, uh, so that you can be content in life. I don't think it had anything to do with. I believe that the church has made it that way, has taken it and used it to form laws and rituals, but I don't believe Jesus meant for it to be that way.
What do you say, Colleen?
Oh, I agree with both Carol and Joni. I don't think Jesus was ever trying to form a religion. I think that he was just trying to teach us how to be better in ourselves. And as they both said, your inner person, your inner soul, as you say, if you keep to the way and be content and be humble with what you have instead of grasping for power and or recognition. That way your life will be happier and more content.
I agree.
Well, yeah. It seems to me the whole Sermon on the Mount was about being able to take this load off your shoulders that was placed there by religion, being able to do it yourself. That you have the capacity within yourself to take this load off your shoulders and to get on with your life and to find a way of contentment within life. Um, I have a hard time seeing where Jesus per se taught the people of the way, let's all get together and form a new church, a new religion, a new temple, a new, a new whatever. And so I think there's a lot to be said for that. And as we move on through it, we're only about 7.5 minutes through the Sermon on the Mount so far, a little over halfway. And what he does after this, then immediately after the illustrations, he then goes into the kinds of things that cause you to resist adopting the way. In other words, what causes you to resist the whole idea of becoming this kind of person. And it basically boils down to, and we'll get into it deeper in coming weeks, but it basically boils down to is, if you think about it in terms of the Beatitudes, for instance, we are afraid not to be, or we're afraid to express that we're poor in spirit because we're afraid that that makes us look weak spiritually to other people who are more spiritual or act more spiritual or whatever. We're afraid to mourn our own condition, that is who we are, because we're afraid that makes us, again, lose our position and makes us look weak in the eyes of other people. We're afraid to be gentle in this world and just be glad for and appreciative of what comes our way because we're afraid. We've been taught all our lives. I mean, these days, from little kids playing little toddler soccer on up, kids are taught to compete and to push and to be number one and all of that. And we're afraid to take this state of I can live life without being constantly overly competitive and pushing through this world, knocking down doors, if you will, to get what I want. Instead, being patient and waiting with it and valuing relationship with other people over the ownership of things. Same thing with hungering and thirst for righteousness. We've been taught in church. I know growing up, I heard more comments about righteousness than anything else. The Catholics' righteousness in the Protestant sense is simply holiness in the Catholic sense, and basically this idea of hungering and thirsting for something. Well, you can't hunger and thirst for it and be full of it at the same time. The idea that you would strive for what's right, but never, you'd have to be satisfied with the quest alone because you'll never come up and say, I'm now this righteous person. and I know what's right. I know what's right for me, and I know what's right for everyone else. You just that won't happen. And I think we're just afraid that we'll lose. It's what the deal is. And the same thing is true of mercy. I know so many people that if you do them wrong, they've got to make sure that you understand it in terms of feelings and regret that you made them feel bad. And that's an important aspect of that teaching. And then the having pure motives and being able to actually see that the other person is struggling in exactly the same way that you are. The other person has good attributes about them, and they have poor attributes about them, just like you do. You have good attributes, and you have poor attributes. Each one of us does, and it's hard to adopt life where we're admitting to that and we're living with that. And then the same thing with making peace between people. I don't know how many places I've worked or how many churches that I've been in where literally the act of making or destroying peace between two people, going around the church or going around the office and making trouble between people is a manipulation tactic that some people use a lot, and they feel elevated, if you will. And I think a lot of times we're afraid to make peace constantly because we're afraid after we do that we're going to be left out. If I make friends between friends, if I make my friends friends of each other, will I wind up left out of the group before it's over with? I think sometimes that's where we live. And so I think when Jesus, as we move on in the Sermon on the Mount, we'll see it. And he talks about this worry and this striving and this judgment and all of that as we move on through the Sermon on the Mount, and how that plays out in our lives, that sort of thing backfires on us many times. And so, the Sermon on the Mount, that's one of the reasons I think it's so important to look at the contiguous line of thought of Jesus and not just look at little sound bites and clip art, as Joni calls it, and that sort of thing. So, anybody else got comments?
I believe that we are raised. Success means fighting for the top. It means always, trying to be better than the next guy. They say be the best you can be, but I don't really. It's not a positive thing, the way that success is looked at, and therefore it doesn't give us room to be able to be successful in the ways that Jesus taught us to be successful, which has to do with an inner peace.
Yeah, if you're at peace with yourself, what more do you want? I think most people,
Right.
that's what they want, is they want contentment within their own lives. We think that climbing the ladder at the office, we think that climbing the ladder in church life, we think that gaining a nice looking place to live, we think that the kind of school that our kids go to and the kind of car that we drive, we think that all of that is going to bring us that contentment. And there's nothing wrong with those things, but when you get right down to it, they're not the things that bring contentment. It is your attitude that brings contentment to your life. I don't care whether you're rich or poor. It's contentment that brings it's your attitude that brings contentment to your life. And that's true for rich
There's a
people
big
and poor
difference
people.
between peace and happiness.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between peace and happiness.
Explain
Some
that.
people can get to happiness by being at peace, but then there's all that other stuff out there that you see other people getting or having or you think might make you happy, that they compromise themselves in order to get. So there's a fine line there, and I can see where young people would have a hard time saying, okay, I'm going to be who I need to be at work, and it doesn't matter if I get a raise, and it doesn't matter if I get a promotion. It doesn't matter as long as I'm content and I'm at peace with myself. But that's a hard thing to stick to when everybody else is getting the promotions around you and getting the raises, and you wind up even maybe getting fired over the fact that you're not competitive or whatever, because it is a dog-eat-dog world.
Yes.
So
Yes.
inner peace, it almost has to be established inside you before you enter into that rat race.
Yet I've met people, and I've worked at some pretty big corporations, Joni, but I've met people that are that way at work and in those competitive environments. And I've met many people in church that are that way in those types of environments. So I know they're out there, and I know it's done. I know when you and I were young, we pretty much did the house and the car and the try to climb the ladder kind of thing. Although we never really, since I worked for myself,
we were never normal.
well, since I worked for myself most of my life, we never really, if you own the company, you're really not competing with anybody. Or as I told my employees at the conference table one day, you can tell me whatever you need to, because I promise you I'm not afraid of you. so I don't have anything. I mean, I'm the last one out the door. When we close the doors, I'm the last one out the door. If this thing goes down, so you might as well express your opinion. I'm not going to fire you for your opinion, okay? And I think that was the way I ran my life anyway, and so it might have been different than other companies. I don't know. It probably was different than other companies, because sometimes you express your opinion in a company and you wind up with big trouble. So, yeah.
It's true.
Oh yeah. Not always.
Very true.
Not always
not
appreciated.
An easy journey.
Yeah. Well, the chat room is quieter tonight than I've seen it.
That's because everybody's on, except for Jan and Amber.
Well, we've got Jan and Amber on there, and Colleen some, I see, and I think you've commented a time or two.
I'm not on it at all.
Huh?
Oops.
Yeah.
There we go.
Wait, what did you say? What did you say, Colleen?
Oh, the screen just went to green, and I was like, oops. I don't know if I did something or what.
Yeah.
But there it goes again. Black with a green C.
Right. Everybody likes to use their tablet, and I think that that Google and Skype and everybody needs to really work hard on, and maybe the tablet makers themselves need to work hard on what it takes to have a good arrangement to be able to do that. If you're just talking one-on-one at night with your mother, it's probably not a big deal. But these and Skype and Google are openly accepting the idea that they're being used on broadcast, and you can go on their sites and they even give you some advice on do this or do that or do the other.
Right.
So it's not like they don't want you to do it. And so I think maybe the whole business related to doing it will become slicker and slicker and slicker as time goes along. I hope so.
Oh, absolutely.
So. Yeah. The reason that I can keep Joni in my image so well is because I set her up there, and I set me up down here, and I both microphones and both cameras and all are set up and working, and we were able to sit and play with the whole situation for what, months, Joni?
That's my microphone.
Yeah,
I'm uptown.
Yeah, that's her microphone sitting there on the table beside of her, and that's the reason she's so close to it. But she's about 4 or 5 feet from her computer, which gives her a little bit of a distance and so forth. So,
yeah, I think with my life, I don't think I've reached contentment yet, but that's all I'm striving for. If I have enough money to pay my bills every month, feed my dogs and myself, then it's okay. Then I only have to stress about when the car breaks or something like it did this month.
right.
So, but I am happier this way than I ever was trying to go up the corporate ladder. And my sisters think I'm a weird throwback. And it's kind of become because they're way up there in the corporate ladder with American Express and Ritz-Carlton. So it's just one of those things, and they look at me and like, well, you've got time now, you can finish getting your degree. It's become kind of my fighting stance not to finish it now because I'm getting bombarded so many times to do so. Because I'm the only one out of 6 that have not yet gotten my MBA and everything. And it's like, you know what? I'm happy where I'm at right now. Can't you just be happy for me? And apparently not.
Well, we've got a son. We have an our oldest son is absolutely mastered, I think, exactly what we're talking about. For some reason, he can pretty much take it one day at a time, no problem. In other words, he can pretty much go through his job life, his family life, all the problems that they have, and I mean they have a huge group that they're trying to manage and to help and to be there for. I mean a massive group. It's unreal. When they come over to our house in Murfreesboro for lunch, I mean sometimes what is it, Joni? 18, 20 people?
Well, that's usually a holiday or something with extended family, but just last weekend was 14.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
So and it's interesting
Yeah.
because they cling to each other and they love each other, and the jobs that they have are not high-end complicated jobs, and at the same time, right down to the kids, everybody works and everybody is responsible and everybody has responsibilities and they consider themselves a family and they all help each other, and they some of the neatest things I've seen on the web is one of the sons is real good with one of the grandsons is real good with art. I don't know. Would you? I don't know if I call him a grandson. He's Jen's brother, right?
Brother.
Yeah. Any rate, so he's a
I count him a grandkid.
yeah. He's kind of like a
Hmm.
I don't know. He's kind of like a kind of a step uncle-in-law or something. But anyway, he's real good with videos and with putting music with them and all that kind of stuff. And they'll go out and have a family outing, and this huge crew is out there playing kickball or doing whatever. And he makes up a video and posts it on the web from time to time, and it's just wonderful to see that family doing that.
That's great.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just like they are totally into it too. But Tim works in a job that he loves. That he's worked in that same type of job for a long, long time, and then he switched employers and found another one that was better than the one he was working for, and he likes it better. But he's got no ambition. If you try to promote him, he'll get cranky. Okay,
Yeah.
he doesn't really want to do that. He doesn't want a bunch of baggage in life. He just wants to live and to be happy, and I admire the heck out of that, quite frankly. Let's
That's
see,
great. That's what.
What is Amber saying there, Joni?
Oh, I agree with that.
I think there needs to be a balance of contentment and self-improvement, meaning it's okay to be content but not complacent, if that makes sense.
Yeah, read Jan's too.
Well, I'll have to reboot or refresh.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think both of them are right.
Unfortunately, I think contentment can wax and wane. It is hard to live in contentment in this physical world. And that's true.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew Amber and Jan would both come up. They would both reel us in and get us out of utopia into the real world at some point. I just didn't know when they would do it. I kept thinking, they were sitting there quiet, and I thought sooner or later I'm going to drag them into this conversation because they can't stand all this hushy gushy stuff that we're saying. And but yeah, I agree. It's true, and I'm the same way. There's days when I just wonder why even teach this stuff, because there's not enough people around who care anything about it to even give me a circle of friends that want to be this way along with me, and that we be able to live together in peace and harmony. It seems like just as Jan and Amber are pointing out, there is from time to time things get tough, and it shows.
Mhm.
It shows in me. It shows in you. It shows in everyone. And things get tough, and we don't stop and think about, this is not the most severe time in the world in my life. There is another side to this. This, or as the expression goes, this too shall pass. Um,
Mhm.
I think that's all true. But yeah,
Well, I think it's something you still have to work on. It's kind of like what both Jan and Amber said. It's a work in progress. You've got to strive to keep it when you can, and when it's not, like you said, when it waxes and wanes and you're there's a time of discontent. The thing is to work your way through it and come out the other end okay and back towards contentment. I mean, like I said, my last 10 years has been a rough ride, but
yeah.
so far I'm here, and I'm getting better with the contentment part, but I'm still working at it, and every now and then I get knocked on my keister, but so far I've been able to get myself back up and dust my rear end off and go forward, and I hope it continues that way.
Right. Well, I wish Amber would expand on what she said about, I think there needs to be a balance of contentment and self-improvement, meaning it's okay to be content but not complacent, if that makes sense. Now, in some ways, I don't see self-improvement as getting in the way of contentment. Lord knows I have tried to learn something new every 10 minutes all my life, have I not, Joni? I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, I just,
We both declared ourselves to be whole life learners.
I even took the that what is that exam for seeing if you want to be a lawyer with the Bar Association?
The bar?
Yeah, but there's a name for the exam they give to check your personality for whether or not you're the legal type and all that. Anyway, I even took that, and Joni's forever sitting back and saying, "Are you going to drag me through another several years of this again?" Because I want to just break down new frontiers constantly. I'm not a very good crank turner, but boy, am I well, she calls me a catalyst, a change agent, and that's true.
Makes things happen.
Yeah, I try my best to make what I do when I leave it better than it was when I got there. That kind of thing. What is Jan saying there, Joni?
I'm getting there. Hang on. It is important to teach this stuff because the world is in such turmoil. And I'm not sure what Amber said. I think it's a different language. You'll have to look at it yourself. DALAI?
I think she means the Dalai Lama.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't, I follow the
That's one of
Dalai
those things
Lama.
I haven't learned.
I follow the Dalai Lama on Twitter, and
I do too.
I don't think Dalai Lama really teaches that you shouldn't try to improve and to learn and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the Dalai Lama is not really promoting the idea of sitting under a tree with your arms folded, is he?
No. No, there's actually a meme that I read today online that says, if you only read the books that your circle of friends are reading, then you will only end up thinking the way they think instead of expanding your own potential of thought.
I think that's a good definition of religion.
Yes.
Well, I was just fixing to say, now even within the bonds of religion, most religious people, if they're conservative religious people, they read the books of conservative religious writers. And if they're liberal religious people, they read the books of liberal religious
Liberals.
writers. That's just how it is. And not a lot of people, some do. I mean, I admire the ones that do, but not a lot of people want to dabble in the spectrum of what's out there. I do. I very much want to. And the idea that I would spend time on both the atheist publications, the atheist blogs and atheist broadcasts, and on religious broadcasts and religious blogs and religious publications is I think probably fairly unusual, because I haven't met very many people who are willing to look at the whole spectrum of things and ask themselves, how does this fit into my life, or how am I going to let it into my life? How's that? I think that's even fair to say,
Amber just said no, so I'm assuming that means no, not the Dalai Lama.
What does it mean, Amber? Tell us what it means. Or maybe you don't.
Give her 30 seconds.
Maybe you don't want to tell us what it means.
Well, for me, that's why I read a lot. I may not have a degree on it or anything, but I am always interested in learning something new. If I meet somebody who's a different religion, I would like to understand what it's like. We had a lot of Baha'i in New England, and one of them gave me a book to read. I had a deacon here in the LDS church and gave me a book to read. So, I mean, I read, and it's interesting to me to find that where the divergence starts and where it ends, because there are a lot of similarities. So many people don't want to admit to it.
Mhm.
No, I think
And my
I think the good side of most of it is stuff that um, the religions have more commonality in the better part of what they're trying to teach and what they're trying to say. I think most all of the negative argument comes in the when you start fiddling around with the supernatural, and that's when you start getting a lot of serious arguments.
yeah.
Carol, you've been nodding a lot. You got something you want to add to the conversation?
No, I've just been listening to what everybody's saying, and I mean, I agree. I'm a pretty happy person, and I'm pretty content most of the time. I need to work on my visceral response, that's for sure, because I get easily irritated. But other than that, I read a lot too. I want to learn new things all the time, um, but that is not my contentment. Doesn't really rest on any of that.
Yeah,
It
mine
rests.
either.
Yeah, exactly. It rests on something else within myself that I know is secure, and I've learned more and more about myself. There's still a lot to know about my inner self, and I'll probably be 110 if I live that long when I'll still be checking out things. But that's just basically me. I'm pretty happy.
Well, I know your story probably better than anybody around right now, as far as this group
Right.
is concerned, and I admire the fact that you got from where you are to where you were to where you are now. The
Amen.
I mean, the fact that there is a way to be content and to change your life and to decide I'm not going to let everything else drive me. I'm gonna drive myself. I think it's probably a really good attribute for people. Jan said on here on the chat room, she said, I don't think degrees make an educated person. Um, she was referring to Colleen. She was saying something to Colleen. The word,
Right.
we can pick at words all day long, but I don't think that degrees make an educated person. I probably say that I think degrees, maybe they make an educated person, but not a wise person, and certainly not an intelligent person. Okay, that I
True.
understand I think what she's trying to say, and that I agree with wholeheartedly, is that you can pack in the education. I mean, you can really pack in the degrees and the time spent in school and so forth, and still not wind up with really any kind of wisdom or any kind of intelligence
Oh,
that actually will help you with your life. You know what I mean?
sorry.
I've got a guest here.
Yeah, I think we have somebody up there that wants to contribute to the conversation.
I
Oh,
think so.
wrong side.
There we go. Yeah, that's my big old Shelly.
Amber says,
Don't smother him, Kelly.
Carlene, can you open a book? Can you open the book A Force for Good to page 20 and read at least the second paragraph at finally he urges us?
Hang
Okay,
on.
Colleen, you have an assignment.
I'm
Okay,
getting
book.
to the book.
Before you do that, tell me what the book of force is. The book of force for good.
Force for Good is one of the Dalai Lama's books. I have to get to my bookcase here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's written by Daniel Goldman along with the Dalai Lama, of course, never writes any of his own books. Okay. I've got dog. Had to bypass the jumping dog, so hang on again. to page 20 and the second paragraph. Here we go.
I put Colleen on the screen, but all I can see is her underarm right now.
I'm here. I had a dog jump up at the same time. I was trying to get to page 20.
Yeah, read me the book.
Okay, second paragraph, page 20. Finally, he urges us all to take a long view of history, but act now, moving toward the fulfillment of this vision in any way we can, using whatever means we have at hand. These changes will take generations. Even if we will not live to see the fulfillment, the Dalai Lama urges, we can start this evolution toward compassion. Everyone can do something. Each of us has a role to play. Our efforts, writ large.
Go ahead. Are you able to say what the vision, roughly what the vision is?
Toward compassion in the world for one another.
Oh, okay.
And he said,
and Amber says that's how I feel about Elise and how Elise should feel about her message. No matter if it's to 3 people or 30,000 people.
There you go. I agree.
Absolutely.
Well, and many times I'm very glad it's not to 30,000 people, quite frankly, because that would just ruin my peace. Oh. So for some reason,
would like to have 30.
Well, for some reason, it seems like everything becomes less when related to a crowd. I mean, and if you're a teacher or someone who likes to pass along the kind of information that Jesus and other teachers like that taught, it's somehow or another, it seems like the larger the audience gets, the lesser effective it becomes. Is that fair to say, you think?
Kind of, I think. Yeah, it ends up being fuzzy at the edges, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there was a video that we watched on TED Talks one time in the group when we met in the hotel over there, and this guy got on the side of a hill and he started doing this crazy dance. I mean, it was really weird. His arms were going every which way, his legs going every which way. He did it well, but he was doing this crazy dance, and sooner or later, the people all sitting around and having a picnic on the hillside, one person came up and joined him. And he started doing the same crazy dance, watching what the guy was doing, and they were doing it together. And then a third person, and then a fourth person, and then a fifth person. And sooner or later, it became more popular to join in than to stay seated, because now the crowd was moving a different direction, okay? It was now moving toward the dance, not just sitting passively by. Well, once everybody got involved, and the guy who explained this and showed the video of it, it was just fabulous what he had to say. He's much better at it than I am. But on the outer edges of the gigantic crowd, all of them supposedly doing this dance, was this, as you got further and further out in the crowd, the dance became not even close to anything similar to what the guy was doing.
Right.
Okay? And that's a really good example of what happens when you grow a crowd within an idea or within a concept, is that people might be drawn to the concept in the original nucleus of it, but as it grows out on the edges of it, it becomes almost nothing like it was when it started. Now, I say all that to say this. I think by the time the gospel writers wrote, Jesus suffered badly from that phenomenon. That's what I think. I think that by the time the writers wrote, I don't know, I'm doing the best I can with what I got, but we don't know what the man had to say. Not exactly. And we're not going to.
True.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Whether we like it or not. And so, in many ways, we need to look to the Dalai Lama and to a lot of people. And Amber, I appreciate what you said, because I do enjoy doing this, and I'm real happy with Amber and Carol and Jan and Joni and Colleen and whoever else joins us. Okay, I mean, I'm happy with just being able to do it, for someone to actually sit down and let me do it on Thursday nights, and so to me that's important. Um, but I think it's what does Jan say there? Sounds like the concept supernatural of the fishes and the loaves. Yeah. Um,
Mhm.
the concept of the fishes and the loaves, to me, is like a lot of stuff in the Gospels. Um, it's there to cause the readers of the middle of the first or the end of the second century to think a certain thing about Jesus and about the movement, and therefore be willing to join it. I think most of that stuff, and I mean, I realize I'm probably in a minority, especially if you have any feelings for a accurate Bible or anything. But I think most all the supernatural stuff like that is there in order as a sales tool. It's there to build that 30,000 people instead of the three people. You know that it's there to cause there to
Build-
be a movement, and it largely has been, I think, what has caused the movement. Last week we talked about it. Sunday afternoon we talked about it. Some and Jan made the point that the Christian faith. I asked the question if they had taught more about how to be in life and had concentrated more on sort of like what you all, Amber and Colleen, y'all feel about the Dalai Lama. If if they had concentrated more on that sort of teaching, the teaching that Jesus was doing about how to be in life, would would the people of the way today be a bigger force in the world, even though they were a much smaller group than they were?
Yeah.
And Jan made the
Yes.
comment they might be out extinct. In other words, they might not be around anymore. And I think that's also possible. But the aim, I think, was like so many people that build churches today. I mean, I was in the School of Church Growth at Southern Seminary, and the fact is that I think most ministers today dream of a big church, not of a very effective effect over people's lives. Okay?
It's
Right.
like the minister's wife with Cary Grant.
Yeah, I
When he
haven't seen
comes
Yeah.
that.
back down, he
Yeah,
was dreaming. He wanted to be the bishop of a grand cathedral,
right.
and he would get it only if he followed this widow's concept and thoughts exactly. And Cary Grant came down to remind him of basically the way to be and be humble. Don't just
Mhm.
truly be yourself, not what somebody's concept of you. You do a lot in this small church. People look up to you and
Right.
look to you for help. They don't want a bishop, they want you as their minister.
Right.
Well, truthfully, in a church situation, I mean, if you want to grow, if your intent is to grow to a large size and having a significant size group,
No.
then you're going to have to a degree, uh, kowtow to those who drive the money and that sort of thing in the church. In other words,
Well,
it's almost, I don't know of any way to grow a large church and to do it without, at least to some degree, uh, trying to fit in with what
Mhm.
the congregation wants. I mean, there's a church in Texas with a bowling alley in the basement. Um, there, really, people want, churches today are largely about, and this is not a bad thing, I want you to understand me, but they're largely about communities of people getting together and enjoying each other's company, and about having relationships and circles of friends and so forth. And those are not negative things. But
no, they're good.
right, but that's where the money goes. Anybody that says our church is serving the poor and that kind of thing, just go to them and say, I want to see your budget. I want to see your church budget. I want to see how much is actually being spent on the poor. And it's going to shock you. I can promise you.
Oh,
The most
oh yeah.
over advertised thing in the church today is caring for the needy. That's advertised.
Yes.
But in the budget, it looks like the advertisement is a total failure because in the budget it's a teeny sliver. And it's that way in denominations too. I know I was on the finance committee of a denomination in a state and discovered that like 10 or 12 people got 75% of all the money given to that
Yeah.
to that denomination in that state. And so
Yeah.
you have to realize it's not people can talk about it all they want to. They can talk about helping the needy and doing the work of Jesus all day long, but look at their budget and look at what they've done over the decades, what they've built, what they've bought, and you'll discover it's not really about that at all. Joni, what's in our chat room? We
Right.
got stuff moving here.
Jan was agreeing with Colleen that was a good movie, and Amber says, "I wish people found ways such as this tool (parentheses YouTube)."
She finished on the next one.
There's more. There's more, Joni.
Well, there y'all
Refresh.
are more.
Yeah,
It's difficult here
refresh because she goes on from there.
to teach. To found ways such as this tool to teach, or even a park. I met a guy recently who was bragging about getting 1.5 million for his church, and I just can think of so much I could do with 1.5 million dollars to affect real change, not build a building.
Right.
Absolutely.
And yeah, some of these buildings they built. I mean, the one that's the biggest one there in Murfreesboro, where Joni is now. I mean, it's the size of a major complex, a major business complex. It is just really unreal how big it is, and
I
that's what the money goes to.
Yeah, I went to one of the mega churches out here, and it's like going to watch a concert. You can't see what's going on down below, so they have big televisions up, screens up, so that you can follow along with what's happening. I don't get any sense of family, compassion, friendship even.
Nothing.
It's just they're there. It's a mega church. Woo, we're great. We have this humongous building. I agree with Amber. So much more could be done with that 1.5 million. There is a small growth in this country coming across, and I wish some of the restaurants out here and coffee shops would do that. They do what they call a pending coffee or sandwich. They buy their own
Yes.
coffee and say add a pending 1 or 2 or 3 or a sandwich. And then when a homeless person comes in and says, are there any pending sandwiches or coffees, then they're given to them at no cost. I
Right.
would really be there every
Yes.
day to give money to somebody who did something like this. And I would give money to do it. But it seems such a foreign concept, and it shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. And it seems like to me that if churches were in need of painting, in need of windows being fixed that are broken, and in need of plumbing, and in need of heat, and in need of all kinds of things, but every day of the week, the church body itself was involved in trying to help other people, that the church would become far more credible.
Yeah, they stopped
Yeah.
going to shut-ins. What I consider my home parish in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. That's Immaculate Conception was my parish. The priests don't go to shut-ins. They will only go to hospitals if it's requested. You know, and again, they don't walk out around as much in the community the way they used to when I was little. So where is this sense of family in the larger sense of the church that I'm supposed to have growing up and understanding?
Right.
And where did the compassion go? It left in large amounts, oh gosh, 30 years ago, and it's less and less each year, and that just absolutely gobsmacks me. I just don't understand it.
Well, we are getting very close to our time of ending this thing. I know Colleen is in Las Vegas, Nevada, and Carol is in St. Petersburg, and Joni is in Nashville, and Jan is in Atlanta, Georgia. And where is Amber, Colleen?
She's here in Las Vegas now.
She-
She was in Alabama.
Okay, all right. So one of the things I'm trying to get to the point to where when I bring in on-air guests, I can show them, and I can use the lower thirds, they call it, to say we have Amber from Las Vegas, or we have Jan from Atlanta, or we have Joni from Tennessee, from Nashville, Tennessee. You know, because usually they'll use the first name only, obviously, and
Carol
and they'll use
goes
the
on.
name and they'll use the name of the town, but not the, of course, not the address. You know,
Right.
no one says I understand you live on 1494 Davenport Street, you know, because that would be a silly thing to do on the air. But I've noticed they do that a lot, and I think it adds to the show because people then know that you're talking to people all over the country, and then maybe they want to join in too, you know. And so,
Hmm.
but anyway, I've been thinking about that. I was going through my head where everybody is, and I couldn't come up with where Amber was, but she's there in Las Vegas with you.
Yes, she
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
And her husband.
yeah. The land of dry heat.
Oh,
It's
we
like,
just left the 90s yesterday. We're supposed to be in the 80s for the next 7 days, and I hope it continues to go down. I am so over the heat.
I went to Phoenix, Arizona a few times, and I walked out of the Phoenix airport the first time I went, and I thought I'd walked into a dryer. You know,
Yeah.
I thought I'd just become a set of tumbling clothes because it was sweltering, but it was dry. And
When I walked out in Trinidad, I thought I was in the washer.
I spoke to a group of evangelical gay people, believe it or not, in Palm Springs, California, and it was the same way. It was like 108 outside. The Coke
Yeah.
machines that were sitting on the balconies and stuff all had thermometers on them so that they could monitor whether or not they were just wasting their time. You know, I guess. So, but anyway. But anyhow, I'm glad that all y'all are on and here, and I know sometimes that we stumble around a bit, and also with the on-air thing. Although I think it adds greatly to the show, I know I haven't quite got everything working like it should, and but we will as time goes along.
And I'm just going to start bribing my dogs. I'll have a bunch of dog treats in my hand to keep them quiet.
Well, part of it is I don't really know what I've got set up wrong, but I can't control the microphones. I've got 4 people on today, you and Carol and Joni and me. And I can control my microphone, I can control Joni's microphone in Tennessee, but I can't control Carol's and I can't control Colleen's. And so when a dog barked or something, I could help with that. Even though, let's say, one of the others, I can't mute the whole Hangouts thing every time because whoever's talking will be shut off. But let's say
Right.
if one of y'all is talking and the other one is needing to make some noise, then or they're coughing or the dogs are barking or whatever, I'm supposed to be able to. That's the way it's made. Google Hangouts anticipated this. I'm supposed to be able to
You'll figure it out.
mute the microphone, but it won't. It will not mute, and so I'm going to have to figure out why not. I'll Google on what's wrong with the Google Hangouts muting the microphone, and I'll probably get an answer. That's what's
Oh,
so
I'm sure
funny
you
about
will.
it. Yeah, there'll be 100 people that's written about it, and I'll even go on YouTube and Google and see if somebody has a video about it. But and I'll probably find it. I probably will. So that's what's so funny
Yep.
about the about Google having little hiccups is that you can find solutions to Google's hiccups by Googling. So and it won't be Google
Yes.
that answers the question. So
My grandkids do that for me. They can find it out faster on Google than I can.
right. Well, Amber, if I had $1.5 million, I'd get together. You and me would go out and figure out a way to spend it correctly.
There you go.
Amen.
There you go.
I can't say that we wouldn't enjoy.
I'd join you.
I can't say that we wouldn't enjoy doing part of it. So, we might need really badly. We might need a brand new van to haul people around in or something. Amber said, "I wish we could post photos on your Facebook page." You can.
Hmm.
You can.
I haven't
didn't-
been able to.
Really.
No.
I mean, I can edit if somebody puts something on there that's lewd or something like that. I can fix that, but I didn't know it wouldn't let you post them.
It's weird.
I'll go look at the settings and maybe I can fix that. Okay.
Yeah.
Amber said, "My dog does the funniest things watching your show." Well, hang on a second. Hang on just a second. We've run
That's
past
what
our
we need
time,
pictures
but
of.
I'm going to show you some. Hang on a minute. Oh.
This can only be about her dog.
Oh, I see a cat.
That's Joey.
Oh, hi, Joey. I have Osiris is in the bedroom sniffing
He's-
out the window, and
Oh, yeah.
Ting Ting is
There
in my
we go.
lap. Oh, they're cute. Oh, what a cutie.
Oh, buddy.
I'm in the way.
Yes. Hey, buddy.
He can't hear
Yes.
you, Carol, because he don't have an earpiece.
Harley is a very intent watcher of the WAY2B TV, which is Amber's dog, and that's Ting Ting, my dog's sister.
Oh.
There's Buddy.
Oh, he's so cute.
Hey,
Yeah.
buddy.
Let's see here. I have to get a better picture.
Yeah, but
There we go.
Joni's in the way.
Yeah, Joni's in the way of my
There you go.
of my second love.
Hey,
Yeah.
buddy.
Now that right there,
He looks like he woke him up.
that's a hound dog. The only way you can tell if he's happy or sad is to look at his back end. If his tail's wagging, that's it.
There you go.
Because you're not going to be able to tell from the front end. But yeah, he's tolerating this. He's
Yeah,
tolerating.
Amber said just again it won't let her post any photos.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is I will try to. Oh, Amber said. Sammy says that's her dog. I guess Sammy says hi to your dog.
He's sniffing the TV.
He's sniffing the TV. And Jan says Harley is my cat's name. He thinks he is a dog.
Oh, that's
She's
funny.
not fat. So I'm the only one left out.
Yeah, Joni
Joey.
said she don't have no critters.
Uh,
I was commiserating with Jan and said, we were left out. We got no critters.
uh,
It's me.
I have the two, and Amber has three. She has Anubis, Samson, and Harley. And this is Ting Ting, who is Harley's sister, who is now like, what are you doing?
I'm going to go outside and get a bird.
Well, I promise that I will.
Joey's stirring.
I promise I will go on Facebook. Oh, where's my? I promise I'll go on Facebook and look at the settings. It could be that the settings are wrong. I get some harassment. I don't know if y'all. I know the people that meet in my private group know that, but I get some harassment, and there's about 20 or 30 people in my block list. But I don't know that if I have done anything with the settings that affect being able to post a picture or not. But I'll go look because I certainly didn't intend to. I have no issue with that at all. Have y'all ever tried to post a picture on Joni's Facebook page?
No, I haven't. I'll have to look.
Well, it's probably possible. It's probably possible on my page too, if I haven't just, like I said, unchecked a box or checked a box I shouldn't have. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just go look because Facebook has a ton of settings. And
Yes, it does, and they change it all the time.
yeah.
Yes.
Let's see here.
Oh.
Jan says, I don't know what in the world y'all are talking about, but Jan says, well, I really wanted a Harley Davidson, but I got a
You have to
cat.
back up.
Oh.
She said Harley is my cat's name. He thinks he is a dog, and I had in the meantime at the same time said, Jan, we're left out, no critters, and she said no pictures anyway, Joni. Well, I really wanted a Harley Davidson, but I got a cat, and I said it seems less expensive and maybe safer. Has nothing to do with WAY2B.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
we have gone way over, but I don't guess it really makes any difference. I want us,
I know.
I want us to have fun on here, and I want it to be something we all enjoy coming to, and I want you to be able to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Thank you.
I think Colleen's loving her dog.
I'm getting told,
wait a minute,
Mom,
wait a
it's
minute.
past dinner.
Wait a minute. Here we go. There's Colleen with her dog. Wait a minute. Here we go. There she is. Show everybody your dog, Colleen.
Oh.
Colleen,
This is Ting.
look
Yeah,
at the picture.
this is Ting Ting.
Look at the picture so you can move him into the picture. Yeah.
Hang
There you
on.
go.
This
You
is
go.
Ting Ting. She's the female.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
She's Amber's Harley's sister.
Yeah.
And she said her dog's full name is Harley Davidson. That's
It is.
Jenny.
Oops. And there they go. Hush. Osiris, hush.
Holy.
they all dachshund.
They're both miniature dachshunds, which is
Yeah.
which is German for a little pain in the keister.
And that's all my mother ever owned were miniature dachshunds, so I'm very familiar with them.
Yeah, but oddly enough, they're my service dogs.
Yep.
Yep, they're alert dogs. They're very good at it.
Yeah. We can tell.
No. Yes, somebody walked by the window, so Osiris came to let us know.
Mm.
Oh, Amber said her dog's full name is Harley Davidson.
Yep, it is.
So
And
is Jan.
Jen says, so is mine, Amber.
Yep.
Well, I knew y'all were both strange in the same way.
Generations apart.
Generations apart, but strange in the same way.
Well, as Alice said to the Mad Hatter, he was thoroughly bonkers, but then all the best people are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, are y'all mother and daughter, or are you mother and daughter-in-law?
Daughter.
She is my daughter. She is actually my son David's widow, but I've adopted her. She is my daughter. Her husband is my son-in-law, and I told him, "Welcome to the family." He fits right in.
Okay, cool.
That's
Okay.
fantastic.
We have that. I introduced my group at the hotel one time at a WAY2B meeting, and I told them, I said, when they get here now, I want you to understand, we have everybody from somebody with green hair to somebody that looks
Yep.
like, we got a young man looks like a little State Farm agent. We got plenty of people with tattoos and body piercings.
Yep,
You know,
I do as well.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I wished. Now that's one thing I think the church ought to be able to tackle and get rid of the problem, and that is the people out there are out there because what the people in the church are saying about them.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's why they're out there. Now,
Yep.
if you could learn that all people are people, and there's all kinds of people in this world, and there's no end to the variety, and then
Oh,
you
Well, they want to keep it out there too.
can go that direction, you might actually have something. You know?
Well,
Yeah.
I've said for years, I don't care if you're black, white, pink, and purple polka dotted. If you treat me with respect, I will treat you back with respect.
Well,
I have.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have sublet children all over the world. One just landed a couple of days ago for a 4-year tour in Italy. So they've been on my couch for a day, a week, a month, a year. So, and I tell them they're my sublets. I sublet them from their real parents, but they're my children.
Right. Well, Joni and I pastored a church that it was close to the line where some kids in the church were Izod and Dockers, you know, and the parents had, you know, at least middle class or upper middle class jobs, and then some part of the church were from crack homes and really difficult situations, and then also we had kids in the church of every manner. I mean, like I said before, multicolored hair, tattoos, body piercings, and so forth. Well, sometimes what you discovered was the real troublemakers look like little State Farm agents, and
There you go. Yeah.
and the really wonderful kids sometimes that worked hard in the church and were kind to each other and thoughtful and considerate had body piercings and tattoos. So
Yep.
you cannot go by that. It's just there's no way to go by that. Some of us wear a cowboy hat and talk funny. So the fact is that you just cannot go by that. I wish people would get to know each other and quit trying to categorize people in groups.
There is something on YouTube. I can't remember what it's called, but they had someone who was a Muslim, another one who was a Jew, another one who was Aryan Nation, another one who was Baptist, and another one was Catholic. They were led into a pitch black room and sat down at the table. And they introduced themselves to one another and found conversations. I think one of the gentlemen was very tattooed as well. And they had a grand old time and made friends. Then the lights were turned on, and
Oh,
they
that's-
realized who they were talking to.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic.
It's on
wonderful,
YouTube.
yeah.
I can't think what it's called.
Yeah.
I'll try to find it again. But
Yeah,
that
and
was
find it
coolest
and
thing
find
I've
it and
seen.
send me the link. I would love
I
to see
will.
that.
It
Yeah.
was the coolest thing I've seen in a long time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense too. If all you could hear, if all you could do is hear their voices and listen to their thoughts and their ideas, and then you got to look at them,
Absolutely.
it would be quite a shock. It absolutely
Yeah.
would be, yes, without
Yeah.
question.
I'll find it. I'll send it to you.
Yep.
All right. Well, Jan, did Mary make it home from the airport? I hope.
You won't know for 30 seconds.
No, we won't know for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But at any rate, I guess we better send it to credits and go on. We're an hour and 16 minutes tonight. That's as long
Oh, wow.
as that's as long
That's
as
great.
yeah, we normally hit right at an hour. One of the reasons I do
But it's
that is
been fun.
some of the
It
YouTube
has.
It's
Yeah.
been fun.
well, that's fantastic. But some of the YouTube tools that I use won't allow you to load anything over an hour. But that's no big deal because I don't use all of those. Oh yes, she did. Jan said yes. Mary got home from the airport. That's good.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
It's good.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, anybody just dying? Carol, you hadn't got to speak much. You dying? You got any kind of dying last words here? Just like I gotta say it kind of stuff.
Nope. I'm good. I'm good. I'll save it for Sunday.
Okay. All right. I hope you'll be here Sunday. We have a good time on Sunday afternoons, and we now have earpieces for all the people who sit on the couch and in the chairs in my living room on Sunday afternoons, and now they can talk with, like Jan came on the Google Hangouts this last Sunday, and they were all able to hear Jan, and Jan could hear them. This Sunday, Joni will be on there too, and able to have a conversation. We've had Jan and Mary on there together, sitting at the same computer. That gets to be a little bit of a hoot. I enjoy Mary and Jan going back and forth sometimes and forgetting that we're listening in. So because it's funny as heck. But any rate, I appreciate all y'all being on here, and I think maybe we need to say bye and close this one out, and we'll do it again next Thursday night. All right.
See you next week. Bye.
Y'all be good. Bye, everybody.